All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today about inventory reorder. My name is Tori Foley. I am Projetech's Maximo Specialist and Project Coordinator. So today I'm going to go over some important fields regarding reorder, and we're going to demo a little bit of the process. Before I begin, just some reminders. This webinar is being recorded and all phone lines have been muted. We will be sending out the recording by the end of the week, and any of your questions we're going to answer at the end of the webinar, so please be sure to submit those in the the field box on the right-hand side in your menu. We also have a couple of polls over there under the menu. If you guys get a chance to take those, it's just asking you what version of Maximo you're currently using and what database you're on. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So inventory reorder is pretty simple in the beginning. You have a few things you have to set up inside of Maximo before it's going to work. So first you start with your inventory and your items. So you obviously have to have an item set up in Maximo. You do that in Item Master. You set up the basic information. You add the item to a storeroom. Once you get the item added to the storeroom, that's when you're going to go to inventory. This is where you're going to set up all of your costs and your balances, your vendors, your bins, all of your information in the storeroom. And then you obviously have to set up your reorder information in there on the Reorder Details tab. This is where the reorder checkbox sometimes kind of trips people up. So if you don't check that reorder checkbox on the inventory record, your inventory item is never going to be reordered. So you always want to make sure that that is checked. Purchasing also needs to be set up inside of Maximo, so if you're either PRs or POs, one or the other needs to be working functional in Maximo in order for reorder to work properly. So inventory and purchasing are the two sections that you need to focus on. So there are several fields inside of Maximo for inventory reorder, and we're just going to go over really quickly what these fields mean. So first we have our safety stock. So the safety stock is your minimum stock balance. So this is based on the criticality of your item. So if you don't need to keep a high stock of these because they're not very important to keep on hand, then your safety stock can be low or it can be left at 0. Safety stock is not it's not read by the reorder process, so this is for your information on what you should have on hand. If it's high importance, you want to make sure that that safety stock is a higher number. Next we have our economic order quantity. So this is your quantity to be ordered when the reorder process runs. So this is something that you guys can determine internally if it makes more sense for a large order to be placed so that you get a bigger discount on your items, or if you need to have a smaller order so that your inventory on hand is smaller. This is just a determination that you make internally and decide from there how you want that economic order quantity to be tracked. So next we have our lead time field. So this is the time between the approval of your purchase order and its receipt date of the item. Okay, so we mentioned the available balance. So the available balance is calculated, and that's what it does is it takes the current balance and it subtracts any reserved quantity. So this is any quantity on any approved work orders for that item in the specific storeroom. And then it also subtracts expired stock. So if you're tracking expiration dates of your item inside of Maximo, it's going to keep track of that and it will subtract it from your current balance to find your available balance. We also talk about the stock on order. So this is your quantity of items on any purchase requisitions or purchase orders that are not in a closed or canceled status. So it could be any other status as long as they are on order on a PR or a PO. So now we have our reorder point. So this is the item balance at which the reorder is actually going to take place. So if we set our reorder point to 5, we have a current balance of 10. If we issue out 5, now our current balance is 5, so our reorder point is going to take place at that point, because if we get any lower than 5, we're not going to have enough. So the reorder point, when we're looking at calculations, we look at the available balance plus your stock on order has to be equal to or less than the reorder point in order for your reorder to run. So after we have all of those fields set, we figured out all of our values for all of that. Now we're looking at time to reorder. So we're ready to run the reorder process, or it could be automated. But we have a couple other things that we need to make sure are filled in. So first, we have the reorder checkbox, which I mentioned earlier. This has to be checked. You can have all of your other fields filled in, but if you forget to check this box, you will never reorder your item. And trust me, it does happen, so you want to make sure that you look for that. So next we're looking at reorder. So we could run a reorder, it could run automatically, and we don't see an item on the reorder that we think should have been reordered. What we can check is if the available balance is more than the reorder point. We also want to make sure that we always have that economic order quantity filled in so that Maximo knows how many to order at once. So if we are running our reorder manually, we're going to do that from within the inventory application. So if you are in Maximo version 7.6, it's going to be in your left side menu. It's under more actions, then you go to reorder, and then you have a couple of options there. So we generally would just do reorder items. And then from reorder items, there are also some more options. So you can just preview the reorder. I think that most people forget that they can just preview and then make changes to what their reorder is going to actually order from the preview. So I definitely recommend always doing the preview of the reorder. So once you run the preview, it's going to show you anything that's going to be reordered. You can run it for an individual item. You can run it for the storeroom. This is up to you, just what you guys are looking for when you run your reorder. So once you have your preview, you can make any changes that need to be made. So if maybe the economic order quantity is set at 5, but you want to go ahead and order 10, you can make that change here. If there are some items on there that say they need to be reordered, but you just haven't made some changes to the values inside of Maximo, you can go ahead and remove them from the reorder. That's totally up to you. But that can all be done from the preview. And then you can either, from there, you can run the reorder from the modifications that you've made from the preview, or you also have the ability to run a reorder report. So this is just it's gonna run the out-of-box IBM report that will show you what will be reordered when you run it. So aside from the manual reorder that you can run, you can also set it to auto reorder, which is just a cron task that your administrator would set up inside of Maximo. But there are also some organization options that need to be set in order for reorder to work. So the organization options are going to be under the organizations application. Once you go in there, over again in the version 7.6 on your side menu on the left, you're going to see inventory options and then reorder. So a couple of things to note in there are the request creations information. So this is just letting you determine what is created to build your reorder. So is it going to be a purchase requisition? Is it going to be a purchase order? What statuses are they going to be in? You have the ability to choose that. You also can choose the maximum number of reorder lines that are going to be on your PR or your PO when they are generated. So you can set that to be low, you can set that to be high. It just depends on how you want it to be set up. And we're going to look at these organization options once I get inside the demo as well. So there are some internal calculations that are done for reorder. I'm going to show you the page that IBM has set up for that. It's called Understanding Maximo Inventory Related Terminology, and then it talks about all of the reorder process. We won't dive really deep into those calculations just because they are exceptionally complex, but we'll look at them, and once you guys get this, once you get the presentation when we send it out at the end of the week, you'll have a link to the IBM page. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over into the instance, and again, I am using a 7.6 version. So if you are currently using 7.5 or some other version, yours is obviously going to be a little different. Okay, so first we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at the IBM page that I spoke about. So it goes over some of the terminology that I mentioned. It also is going to start giving you some calculation information. So if you ever have more questions about the internal calculations that Maximo makes as far as reorder is concerned. It's all going to be listed in here. So the how this all comes together section is where it starts to get a little crazy. So just lots of calculations. But again, this is going to be, this will be with the presentation that we send out, so you guys will be able to go to this page and use this for future reference. So definitely bookmark this. This is something that I have saved in case I have questions or just can't remember about the specific fields that are part of the reorder. So I recommend doing the same thing, just save this link or bookmark this page somewhere. So the first thing we're going to look at, I just want to go and look at the organization settings that I was talking about for the reorder. So we'll just navigate to the organizations application, and I'm going to pull up the organization that I'm in. I'm using demo data inside of a sandbox instance, in case anyone was wondering. So over on the left-hand side under More Actions, we have Inventory Options, and then we can go to Reorder. So this is where I talk about your request creations. So you just have options. You can set it to unapproved or approved PRs or POs. So if you are using some purchasing in Maximo but you're only doing purchase orders, then you can set it to create the purchase order for you. If you're using both, then you can set it to create the purchase requisition for you. And then we also have the maximum number of reorder lines per either the PO or the PR. Okay, so we're just going to start from the beginning. So we're going to start at Item Master. So this is the foundation. You want to make sure that your item is in Maximo in order for you to be able to reorder it. Check your balances and your transactions. So we're just going to pull up an item. So we can see that my item's already been inputted into Maximo. I've given it the item set. It's got a commodity group set on it. I've given it the basic information, and then I've put it into some storerooms. So the storeroom that I'm worried about is for my site Bedford. My storeroom is Central, so this is going to be the transaction. This is the record that we're going to look at. We have a current balance of 6 right now. It's in a default bin. So when I got it all added to my storeroom, all of this information was tracked. So now that I have my item inside of Item Master, we can go into Inventory. Just for anybody not using 7.6 yet, there is a little search function. I can just type in my application and it'll find it for me. I don't have to navigate there, which is pretty nice. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to search for my item. My site was filled in already, Bedford, so it immediately pulled up for my storeroom Central. Okay, as we can see on here, I've got my costing information. My balances are in here. It looks like I have a physical count of 9, but I have a current balance of 6. I could look up here and look for any reserved quantities that I have. Since I have all this information in here, what I care about now is my reorder information. So the Reorder Details tab is where all of our basic information is going to be stored, and this is where we need to focus on. So here's that reorder checkbox I mentioned a couple of times. This is so important. You are not ever going to have an item that's reordered if this box is not checked. And I promise you think that it's silly that I mentioned it multiple times, but it's so easy to overlook that tiny little checkbox. And I've done worse things. I've forgotten smaller items, so you need to make sure that you always remember, is my reorder checkbox checked? So next we have our reorder point. So this is the point at which our balance is going to be reordered. So if we hit this or we go under it, Maximo knows that we don't have enough on hand, we don't have enough in stock, and we need to order more. We have our lead time, which is in days. So this is, like I mentioned before, this is the time from when your purchase order is approved to the time when your item is received into Maximo. We do have a safety stock set on here, so I actually want to keep 15 on hand of this item at all times. So if I get down to 10, then I know that something has happened and I should not be down that low. And then we have an economic order quantity of 5. So this could mean that maybe when I order 5 at a time, I get a pretty decent discount, or it could also mean that I'm only ordering 5 at a time because I want to keep a smaller inventory. Either way, this is something that can be determined internally at your company. Whatever you guys decide is what you would track here. They are required fields, but if you decide not to do a reorder, they default to 0 and you don't have to worry about it. And even if that checkbox is unchecked, it's not going to matter anyway. You can also notice that I have a couple of vendors listed here, but I also have a primary vendor. So my primary vendor here is what's going to be set when this is reordered. It's going to start with my primary vendor. So since I have a reorder point of 10, but we noticed before on my inventory tab that my current balance was at 6. So I'm pretty low on this item. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run my reorder. So again, this is something that you can have someone do manually, or this can be done with a cron task inside of Maximo that your administrator would set up to run this automatically for you. I'm going to just do it manually. So on my left-hand side under More Actions, there's going to be a Reorder, and I'm going to do Reorder Items. So I have several options on here that I want to look at. So first I have this Ignore Reorder Point. So this is telling me that if I check this box, I am going to not even look at my reorder point. So my reorder point could be 5. I have 6 on hand, but I want to run the reorder anyway. I want this to automatically order something for me. So I'm going to check that box, and it's not even going to look here. It's just going to run the reorder on this item for me. I have another one that's default to unchecked, which is the Include Soft Reservations. So currently right now, Maximo is looking at any hard reservations. So hard reservations are when the item is required by a specific date. The soft reservation is the item is required, but it's not by a date, and a hard reservation or some other issuing transaction can take precedence over the soft reservation. So currently the reorder doesn't deal with the soft reservations, but we can make it. We can check this box and any soft reservations on this item will be taken into account when we're looking at reordering. So I also have the ability to reorder any direct issue items or services. I can do this from this checkbox, or so when I clicked reorder, I'll show you really quick. When I went over here to reorder, I could just do that separately. So if I only wanted to reorder direct issue items, I could do that. So anything that we, maybe our work orders were waiting on specific materials that are not in stock and they are set as direct issue, I could come in here and run this reorder for direct issue items and then start that process of the order. Once they get received, they get automatically issued to the work orders and the work can officially begin. But I can also just run my regular reorder and run direct issue items with it. I also have another one where I have the ability to run my reorder against all items in my storeroom. So currently right now I just have one item pulled up. I'm only running my reorder against this one specific item. I could check this box, and even though I only have one pulled up, it's going to pull for every item in my storeroom, which is central. So if you ever are running a reorder on all of your items, I definitely recommend running in background mode. So this just means that instead of this box popping up and a little spinning wheel coming up and waiting and waiting and waiting for the reorder to run, it's actually going to close the box. I can still navigate around in Maximo. I can still do any other part of my job that I need to inside of the application. When the reorder is finished, it will send me an email and tell me that it was finished. I'm just going to do my preview so that I can show everybody about this preview. So we'll click that. And I'm only running it against one item, so it shouldn't take very long. Okay, so here's my preview. So I can go ahead and hit my twisty on the left and get some information. I can change the quantity that's being reordered. So it pulled in my reorder quantity of 5, which was my economic order quantity. I wanted to order 5 at a time. It shows that my current balance is 6. We looked at the inventory record. We noticed there were no reservations. Nothing is currently on hand or being ordered, so all we have is our 6. And then I can even change my unit cost. So if I'm ordering this from somebody specific and I know the price is going to be different, I can go ahead and change that here. So from here I have a couple of options. I can run a reorder report, which I'm going to go ahead and do so we can look at. So this is just going to give me a report. So it's basically the same information as that preview was. Obviously I can't make changes on the report, but this is just going to give me a printout. Okay, normally it would. So this would be where it would just show suggestions. So this is going to be the suggested reorder for any of your items. And I will go ahead and run reorder now. All right, well, make sure you fill out your fields properly, unlike me. So we're going to go back. I'm going to uncheck my box. I'm going to do my preview one more time. I always like to do my preview first just in case. And I am going to make a change. I'm going to change my reorder quantity to 6. And now I'll go ahead and run my reorder. Okay, so now this is the information that if you would have done this in the background, this would have shown up in your email. But I went ahead and let mine run in the front, so it shows me that only one item was reordered because I only had one pulled up. And it tells me the PR that was generated. I have mine set to generate purchase requisitions, so I get my PR number, and I want to go ahead and pull that up. So I'm going to go into purchase requisitions. I copied that number, so I'll paste it in here. Okay, so we can see that it was generated by the reorder. It tells us the date and time that it was done. There's the site that it was generated for. Requested by my login. We can scroll down to our vendor information. So there's our primary vendor. And now I'm going to go over to these PR lines. I'm going to do the twisty to show us the details of our PR line. So there's my item number. There's all the information about the item. The manufacturer is listed as here. I didn't change my cost, so that's still here, but I did change my quantity. So instead of my economic order quantity of 5, I wanted to go ahead and order 6. So I've got my 6 here. Our storeroom is correct. It's got our date and time here. Everything looks good right now. Okay, so I want everybody to notice this. We have a required date. So I mentioned it briefly in my PowerPoint, but on this item, which I can just hyperlink to from up here, there was the lead time field. So if I go to my inventory record and I go to the reorder details, so I have a lead time of 10 days. So again, this lead time field is the time from when your PO is approved to when your items should be received into Maximo. So that's why my required date is 10 days out. So the rest of this process is going to be done by your purchaser. So this is where my PR is going to become approved. Okay. And now I am ready to make this into a purchase order. Let's see. I'm going to create my PO. I'm going to let it auto number. Again, it just takes the same description. It's generated by the reorder. I'm going to hit OK. My status is changed to closed. And I want to go and look at my PO, which I should be able to pull the number off of my PR. Yes. So there's my PO number. So now we can go to purchase orders. Again, I love this side navigation bar just for anybody who's still on 7.5 and is absolutely missing out. So I'm going to put my PO number in here. And there we have it. All the same information. I can go and look at my PO line. And again, I still have my item, my quantity of 6, my unit cost is here. So we're just going to walk through the whole process. So I'm going to go ahead and change the status and approve this so that I can receive it. Okay. I feel like navigating this time, so I'm going to navigate to receiving. I'll put my PO number in here. Okay. So I'm ready to receive all 6 of these items. You guys know about receiving your information. If I had any more details, I could put all of that in here. If I had any remarks or if I had packing slip information, I can put that here. Okay, it's going to receive my quantity of 6. I'm going to go ahead and save it. My receipts have changed to complete. So now I should be able to go back into inventory. We're going to pull up my item number. Now I have my current balance of 12. So I've just walked through the entire reorder process, starting from the beginning with the item being input into Maximo, setting up all of our reorder detail information, then actually running the reorder. So for any Maximo administrators, I can show you where you would set up your cron task for your reorder. So that's going to be under the cron task setup. And it's just the reorder cron task. So this is where you're just going to put your information in here about how frequently you're going to run your reorder, who you're going to run it as and making it active, if you have any parameters, all of that's going to be done here. So let's go back to inventory. So I showed you the 2 reorder options. So for reordering items and then reordering direct issue items. There's also a clear reorder locks. So what this is when somebody runs a reorder, it locks the reorder so that no one else can run it while the first user is running it. So sometimes this could get caught up. So if you ever, it looks like Maximo thinks that the reorder is still being ran, but it's actually already completed, you can come in here and clear the reorder locks, and this should clear that lock so that Maximo no longer thinks that it's being run. It understands that it's completed and would let you rerun the reorder if necessary. Okay, so we've walked through the entire process. So we're going to go ahead and answer a few questions that people have had. Okay, so it looks like somebody has asked, they have 7.5, so in the version the reorder point is based on the issue unit and the economic order quantity is based on the order unit. Is it different in 7.6? So no, it is the same in 7.6, so both of those fields are still going to be based on the order unit and the issue unit. Okay, so we've got a couple other questions that are coming in that we are going to answer. We'll send you guys your answers. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning into our webinar today. We do have one more webinar that's coming up pretty soon. The next one is going to be on quick reporting. So this is going to be Wednesday, April 19th. It's going to be at 2 p.m. So in this webinar, our client advisor and project manager, Chris Winston, is going to dive into all things related to quick reporting inside of Maximo. So this is going to be differences from work order tracking and why we call it quick. It's going to show you the coordination with the Start Center and linking it into your daily processes, and then common and uncommon but very useful alterations, tailoring it to your business requirements. Okay. We also there's going to be a link that we'll send out to you guys so that you can sign up for it. We also have a little survey that we're going to have for you guys at the end of this webinar, so please be sure to take that for us. And then just another reminder to take the polls that we listed on the right-hand side in the menu. And if you guys have any questions, please just let me know or reach out to any of us here at Projetech and we'll be sure to answer them. Thanks everybody again, and you have a great day.